Guys, I just wanted to run through the stock here. I just entered here today on this dip, actually. You know, I am going to place a stop loss. I do expect a bounce, but potentially it could have more downside. I'm not too sure yet. So far, I do like what I saw, but we have to be a little cautious as well. So basically, this is TTCF, Tattooed Chef. We can start on the weekly time frame because the hourly is going to look a little more scary. So on this weekly, we have been consolidating in between this pattern here. We had a run up to the top in September. We came all the way up to 28.61, and then we fell all the way back down, and we actually wicked a little bit below this weekly 50 EMA here to 1406, which is where this trend line begins here. And I ran it all the way up. And as you see, we have came down and tested this trend line throughout this whole portion. So where we are now is the reason I say it's a little more scary and concerning is two different reasons. One is it's a rising channel that it's in. Now, this could break bullish out of this rising channel if it can break above this 2764 area and then also this 2983. So today it came down, which I had some buy orders down in 2403, and it came down to I don't see the exact price. Maybe it came down to this trend line, probably 2388, something like that, or 2373. I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure the exact price it came to. We can look on the smaller time frames if you want. And we did, for now, bounce off of it. So that's where I placed my buy order. I will probably be placing a stop loss. Let's see, somewhere in this 2335 range, maybe 2350. So I put about $900 down on it. Now, of course, most of the time when you make plays like these, if you want it for long term, you can buy these dips. And if you're making swing trades, I do it a little bit backwards in a sense because for the most part, when you're playing trends, you're not really supposed to buy these. In a sense, you're not supposed to buy these support lines. I like to do it because I feel like I maximize my gains. Most of the time, they really say to buy a breakout, so you would buy somewhere up in this $28 range and higher. But for someone that doesn't have a shit ton of money, for me, it's easier for me to load up on these support lines every time they come down. So you can do it however you want. Risk versus reward. If you are buying on these trend lines, you can actually just put stop losses below, which is how I play it. But, most big guys would probably buy if it broke out of this pattern and so on and so forth. But I take a little bit more of a risk by doing that, but I limit my risk by putting my stop losses below. So, needless to say, anyway, sorry for that ramble. There's a couple concerning things here. One of the things that is concerning to me is the possibility of this looking like a head and shoulders pattern. Now, the reason that it's not as concerning to me is because usually in a head and shoulders pattern, you have your shoulder, you have your neckline, which to me would be here, right? And then you would have your next shoulder would come up, get rejected here, and then fall. So the head is up in this range. So the reason it's not as concerning is I feel like that can't, by the price coming out past this neckline, that should have potentially got rid of the factor of the head and shoulders pattern. So I think that in a sense we could cancel that out. But on the RSI here, it's kind of funky, so I don't even really want to look at it as a head and shoulders, I guess. I guess you could say that that's a shoulder, that's a head. Well, this is the head. Well, maybe that was the head and shoulders. So, I'm doing this on the fly, guys. Sorry. So, I guess, that's why I entered it. Because if I thought it was really a head and shoulders pattern, I wouldn't really be entering at the top of the shoulder. So, hopefully this isn't what it's going to turn out to be. So anyway, let's look at the rising channel here. If it was a rising channel and it decides to break to the downside in the following week, it could come all the way down to 1534. or catch support right here on this line at 2027, which is, really, in my opinion, a really fucking good long would be somewhere on this second trend line that it's been following. So for me buying it here, I'm basically putting my risk to reward ratio that we are going to break out. Let me just get rid of this. I'll redo that line because I can't seem to grab it here. So the reason I'm buying it is the fact that we've been so bullish here that I'm expecting a breakout. Even though, usually there's like a 70% chance of the downside, 30% chance of the upside, something like that in a rising channel. But when you're in a bullish sentiment, usually you have breakouts to the upside. I mean, it's not the safest thing to do playing a rising channel, but if it was to come up, we're looking at like a $40 move out of that rising channel. And if we do break this downward sloping resistance here at 27.72, then you actually have a larger move. And then this is all like when I do these larger moves, I like to just buy it, sell the pump out of it, and then, I'll look back at it later because it's not going to just go straight up to $41, but that's the breakout target anyway. It's not going to go right up to $40, just like DTIL, KLDO, all those. I have $22 targets, $19 targets, and I'm selling them around $14, $15. And that's just because stuff comes up, gets a little correction, goes sideways, resets RSI, pumps up more. So I don't want to be sitting in there in the consolidation personally. I like to get that first initial blast off, sell that shit, and then I'll come back later when the new pattern is created, and I'll buy that next one. It blasts off to the next target. I'll sell it, and it'll consolidate, so on and so forth. So I just want to make that clear here. If you're buying here saying, "Oh, I'm going to sell at 40," that could be, that could be 6 months down the road that it hits 40. We might just get a pump out of here and come up to somewhere in this 34 range, and then consolidate, come back down, test some support, and then shoot back up $35, do the same thing, so on and so forth, and trend in there. But I just want to make these clear when I'm making these videos because I'm not trying to say that you can long shit for sure if you want to hold it in your portfolio for a few months, and you will get those prices. That's where it's heading. So, on this MACD, there's your kind of sort of looking like a head and shoulders, but I think it's going to really be whether or not this decides to come up and of some sort. But being that we're in this pattern and it looks like the proper place to break out as far as like this range, then we might be looking at some bullish movements. What we had in the past was this double top here with bearish divergence here. So now we're coming up on this potentially being a double top of some sort. And, as of right now, this is on the weekly, so it can still move all the way up and not have this bearish divergence. But as of right now, where it looks at, we do have. I mean, maybe we don't really have it because the price isn't quite the same there. If we're going up the bodies here, so yeah, we don't have bearish divergence yet. So that's actually a good thing. If this price pumps up and the RSI stays low like this, then we will end up having bearish divergence. But that's on the weekly, so we can't really call a fall based off of this yet. You can look at the candlesticks, look for like spinning tops and shit, which we don't really have any spinning tops. So that's good. So, this is a good day to potentially get in. Now, this was the pattern that I had drawn in here that I was looking at last night when I was trying to decipher where I was going to enter today. And, it's slightly rising. It's a slightly rising pennant, but I mean, sometimes these type of pennants that look like these can actually with the big like pole. I don't really want to call it a flag per se because the flag is more like straight like that. This is a little different because it comes to like a point like that. I'll call it a pennant. So because it has this great upside, usually when it's pointing up like this in this pennant, it usually likes to break in the direction that it broke out to, which is like that. So we'd be looking at something like that. So what we'd be looking out for our breakout target is the same as on the weekly. Is we have to break through this 27.69, and then we have to break through this 28.55 level. We might get some crazy power if we actually break through this 27.69 and disregard this top trend line. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. So we did wick below this here, a little bit, which was probably some people got stopped out a little bit. It did a little stop hunt, and I bought somewhere right here 2403. I don't remember where I got that from, but that must have been the weekly. So actually, that was so I bought anyway at this somewhere over here in this 2403 area, which I got from the weekly. So it is kind of outside the pattern. So I guess we want to watch and see if it gets back above this 2436 area. Then we're back in the pattern, which it looks like we're trying to test that right now as support. So we kind of want to hold this. We don't want to keep falling out of this. Right here, 2432 really is your support now. So if we do, after a little bit of this red action, we do get some over the next few days, some support here. We could create some type of W there. And, we have, what's this daily 20 EMA? Daily 20 EMA looks like, I can't tell if it's hard to tell if we're just sitting right on it or right below it. So it's somewhere between 2449 and 2456. So we don't want to continue staying below that, obviously. But if we look at the RSI here, this was the low here of the move. This was the low. And where we drop to right now is right here because we go off of the body, not the wick, right? So this is where it's saying we are. So if you look at that, right now, this is the price action here, and this is the price action in the RSI. So we're actually, as of right now, creating bullish divergence after we had bearish divergence on the daily, which I saw last night and said we're going to dump here, and we did. So here's your price action there on your bodies, and here's your price action here on your RSI. It's going the opposite way. This is showing lower on the right and higher on the right here. So needless to say, if you guys didn't know about bearish or bullish divergence, and if you already do from watching my videos, then this is all, the same shit that I usually explain. But just in case new people are here, I like to throw it out there. So as of right now, I mean, I could potentially move my trend line here, but I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave it where it is and show that this is support, which we need to hold this support. So I'd like to see us get back in this 2457 area and hold. We have a breakout of this if we do get back in here. So sometimes, buying a little bit below that trend line like I did could be a scary factor. But, sometimes you got big balls and you just do what you got to do. And that's what I did. So 33.53 is my actual measure move target, which is pretty cool. And if we do break down out of here, because we've got to look at both directions, then you can see where you could potentially get some buys in. And if we break down from here, which if it does tomorrow, look at that. It falls right here to this $20.40, which works out perfectly almost on this trend line and on this previous trend line of that wick. So kind of weird how that works out. Makes it a little more scary as far as that, but let's see how this works out. Yes, like I was saying prior, I was looking at this last night. I mean, it doesn't really look like the Head and Shoulders. So, we're just getting some resets on this RSI here. Like I said, the lowest that we could come if this does decide to just shit on our lives here, we could come down to this 2040 area. So let's look at some 4-hour time frame here and see what we got going. We have this 50 moving up, 50 EMA moving up. We still have bullish divergence here. And, we got to, sorry, my boss was coming in here checking on me. So we have to get back into this pattern here to hold support here. And I do like this bullish divergence, and I like the reset of the RSI, which is nice because it's going to give us some room to come back up here. And, I don't think this runs over just yet. So we have to wait and see what this 4-hour EMA is going to do. Now, as far as this 1-hour EMA, we do see it's rolling over, which is a little bit on the negative side. But in fact, we have this RSI that bounced on the 1-hour. So we're going to probably come up and catch resistance either at this $25 range or this $25.39. And we're going to have to wait and see how this turns out for us here. We do have bullish divergence on the 1-hour as well. So I could actually see us on this RSI going sideways here, coming up and doing something like that, maybe creating bearish divergence again, and coming up, coming down, coming up. Who knows how it's going to play out, but hopefully we can get up here, hold support again, so on and so forth. So we're going to watch for that for sure. I could do a quick fib retracement here and see what we got going on real quick for support and resistance based off of the fibs. And any of this makes sense. Let's see. So 0.382, 2261. So, a fall down here, if we keep falling further here, then and we can't get back above this 24.57, then, we are going to be testing some lower targets. But as of right now, even though this EMA looks like it's going to cross negative, I think we might actually get up out of here. Being this low on the RSI here, we've bounced here a few times, and it looks like it's going to potentially create some type of W here, which would be really nice. So, like I said, I think we might bounce up, catch some fucking resistance somewhere in here. $25. Everyone's going to get pumped, try to buy it. Then it's going to fall back down to this range, maybe even down here again, 23.83. Maybe this time we'll hold this 24.65 area, which would be the daily EMA. And that would be even better. That's what I want to see. So I'm looking for this in reality, I'm looking for this $25 range to come up to next. See if it gets rejected there, comes back down. Maybe it can actually catch support here on this 24.63 area. So we got to keep our eyes on that. And, if it maintains in this pattern, which is what I'm playing this pattern right here. So, I think this was a little fake out here. We all kind of went red for a little bit. Most of my shit went red for a little bit, or even the stuff I'm in the green with. I lost some profits, came back up after this, and this minor little pullback is not anything to worry about yet unless we start falling below this range. So I guess if you were going to buy this thing in this 24.26 area, you would have to put your stop loss somewhere at 23.60 probably to be safe. And if it hits that, most likely we're coming all the way down to this point, might get a little bounce further down, and work our way down here until we get to this $20.10 area. So I mean that's only if we fall out negatively out of here. So I'm not really looking for that yet. Let me look at the TD sequential. I got one more thing to look at after that. We had a red TD9 flash on the daily, and then we had that somewhat of a spinning top, which signaled that we were going to have some downside. Now we kind of have this red hanging man, which I guess could signal downside potentially, depending on how the next day turns out. But this trend holds up. So as of right now, this trend line is massive support, and we don't want to break down below that in reality. So, and then lastly, let's look at the Ichimoku cloud thing and see if this is showing us anything at all. So, and we do have a lot of cloud support down here at this $21 range on the daily. On the 4-hourly, we this cloud, which the cloud looks like it's around $23 even. I don't know if it's going to wick down there for a fake out and then come up, but I'm not expecting that. I'm looking for us to turn around here a little bit. But if we do have this white cross down on the purple, I mean, we've had it over here on the left side here, and we just went sideways. So maybe we're going to do the same kind of style here. It's hard to say. I can't predict the future. But if this does cross negative, maybe it's just going to cause us to go sideways here before we have a nice breakout somewhere in this range. That's what I'm kind of expecting, but let's wait and see what happens. So I just wanted to do some quick analysis there, look at the hourly real quick, see if we can check this clump mess here and see what we got. I like that we're getting on the hourly candle. If we get this next candle and we actually get some confirmation here with, how the candle bottom with a little wick above it, that would be nice to see. I'm just going to get resistance as of right now. We have strong resistance at this 24.77. We have a lot of resistance on this hourly 25.31. If we go sideways for a little bit, then Our resistance wouldn't be till 25.42, which would line up perfectly with this hour 20 EMA. So, I mean, we have to just be careful and see what's going to happen here. As this 20 EMA is crossing on the hourly, this could happen in the next 3 hours or so, and it's going to really decide whether or not we're going to dump more or if we're going to just go sideways. So we got to watch this right here, which I think in the next hour or 2 hours here we'll be definitely figuring that out. So, okay on it. Sorry for the long ass video. Um, you know, trade at your own risk on this thing. Set your stop losses if you do plan to play this pattern at all, or enter somewhere up in here and just go long as fuck somewhere in this $29 range. And then you probably can run it up to $33, $35, or you could long it up to the 41. So it's all up to you how you want to do this. That's my intake, and like I said, I'm in this play now, and if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. I don't really care. I'll lose, probably here. So if not, and then I'll just wait and I'll probably just buy a shit ton right here and then I'll be fine. So that's my view on it, and let's see what happens. All right.